Parents of Reddit, what has been your most awkward encounter with your child's sex life? I woke up one night to the sound of my mum rummaging through my box of condoms which I thought I had hidden well under my bed. I just need one. Sorry, we never spoke about it again. My son shows me every time he gets a boner. Look at my big penis. He's 2, but it's going to get uncomfortable soon. You should totally record this, and then when he is getting married play it at the reception, just to show him what being a parent will be like. Okay, I'm not a parent but this is a good story, and every last one of my friends has heard about that incident with my granddad's funeral and the flash drive full of lesbian pee. When I was 17, my granddad died really suddenly, and in the midst of funeral preparations my father and his sister were trying to throw together a picture slideshow for the service. They stayed up until really late in the night, and when it was finally done, they didn't have a flash drive to move it off the computer. My dad let himself into my bedroom while I was sleeping, figuring I must have a couple of flash drives around, and dug one out of my desk drawer. It was the master drive, the one where I kept my entire pee stash, which at this point in my process of pee discovery consisted mostly of doujin manga of the graphic lesbian sex variety. He popped that little sucker into the computer, dragged 100 or so pictures of my recently deceased grandfather onto it, and handed it to his incredibly Southern Baptist fundamentalist sister to take home and proof before the funeral. My aunt is not a computer savvy person, and she wasn't fully aware that there could be other content on the flash drive besides pictures of my granddad. So when she plugged the flash drive into her computer and that helpful little dialog box popped up asking what she wanted to do, she very happily clicked view all images. And Jesus freaking Christ on a cracker, did she ever view some images? She hasn't looked me in the eyes in 5 years. That takes the cake for awkward. Now if only we had her side. I did something kinda similar to my mom, but it was accidentally leaving a hardcore lesbian pee link copied in the clipboard. She hit Ctrl V trying to open up some other link later, didn't actually copy the one she intended to, and suddenly there was strap-ons and titties. My mum once burst into my room just as my girlfriend was positioning herself over my face. I was completely naked with a Rager. Needless to say I quickly buried my face in clunge and my girlfriend and her were left staring at each other. Not sure if that's brilliant, selfish, or both. Either way, no eye contact. When I was a senior in high school, my lazy butt boyfriend and I would come home, flop down on my comfy bed, and nap usually through supper. My father and I had to sit down and talk about it, because my stepmom was offended that she was cooking vegetarian for me and I wasn't eating it. He told me, I know sex is fun, it's really great, I love it, as long as you're using protection, have all the sex you want, go ahead, do whatever, just be downstairs for supper time. He refused to listen when I told him we were just napping, and kept talking about how fun sex is. Hahaha, I think dads enjoy making things awkward. My mom and stepdad went to move my bed, found my vibrator between the mattresses. My mom walked in the bathroom to catch my masturbating with the shower head, caught a boy sucking on my overly developed boobs at 16. My life was full of awkward moments. Edit. My mom caught the boy, not me. I knew what was going on. Sorry for the phrasing. Ha, I had a girl tell me I would never get her off from sex alone because I was competing with a vibrating shower head. Always thought that was some kinda weird myth, but she and many other girls have proved that stereotype quite accurate. My son had a half day his junior year of high school. He had told me that he was going to stay the night at his friend's house. I get a text message from him at 4:50 PM saying your dad just walked in on me getting head. I later found out he meant to send this to his friend who left to get food while he was with his girlfriend in the guest bedroom. Also he was hammer drunk and didn't figure out he sent it to me until the morning. Oh, I read that as junior high school, not junior year of high school. A bit different. Never use a hairbrush to masturbate. Girls, when you see your sister mother borrowing said hairbrush, you will want to vomit. Or your college roommate who is too liberal with borrowing your stuff. I'm not a parent, but a big brother. Younger brother, 4, is sitting in his mini rocking chair in the middle of the living room watching a kid show, and the rest of the family is spread throughout the room locked in conversation. The attention is diverted when our mom tells him to stop playing with yourself. You can't do that in front of people. He just stares at her for a moment, gets up, walks to his room, and shuts the door. Awkward and awesome. Probably the most fantastic thing I've read all day. Getting home after a fantastic anniversary dinner and night with the wife. We get into the house and the wifey runs upstairs to get ready for some late night fun. Now to my knowledge one child should be asleep or is out and about, the other at a sleepover. While getting ready to head on up I hear some noises coming from the basement. I head down there and start hearing moaning from my den room. I open the door and my 16-year-old son is giving it to his girlfriend on my dang recliner. My mother's not on Reddit, but I'm sure this is hers. When I was 18 or so, we found out that my dad had a brain tumor. He lived in another state, so she got a call early one morning from his girlfriend saying that he had had a seizure and was in the hospital. They weren't sure what was going on. So she panicked, because they're still okay friends, so she was really worried. Started crying and freaking out, then realized she had to tell her kids. So, in her panic, she forgot to knock on my door before she burst in, finding me, her previously assumed to be heterosexual daughter, completely naked curled up around another completely naked woman, the whole room reeking of sex. She kind of froze while I scrambled for sheets to cover us and then muttered, "Your dad might be dying. I'll talk to you later," and slowly backed away. Frick. Rubbing his penis to a Madonna music video. I'm talking about, well before the age of masturbation. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just know it feels good. That was me. My mother walked in on me doing that. I used to strip down to my underwear and watch Return of the Jedi, specifically the scenes with Leia in the gold bikini, rewind and play over and over. Just knew something about it seemed right. Girlfriend and I have been dating for 4 years, and we started having sex quickly when she was 16 and I was 15. My parents always left us alone and never bothered us, knowing that we were gonna do what teens were gonna do. But one day we were doing it and we got risky. Neither of us had any clothes on, and when we were going doggy style, I was just about to see him when unannounced, my father walks into the room. Girlfriend grabs her tea, rushes for the covers. I just try to cover my dong with my arm yelling "get out," while my dad makes a noise sounding exactly like Hank Hill. Things are still weird between my GF and my dad, but later that day we high-fived. Blah. My GF and I used to have fun in my basement while my parents were blissfully unaware upstairs. Being the cautious and responsible young people that we were, we always used protection. Being the ignorant and unexperienced person that I was, I hid the used protection on top of a single tile of our drop ceiling. You know, the kind made of squares that you can push upwards. Oh yeah, that's also where I hid my homemade bongs and used masturbation rags. Basically, everything I wanted to keep secret from my parents. I was 17 at the time. Well, we were moving and apparently my parents considered the basement to be the room that needed cleaned out first. I awoke late one weekend morning to find my parents cleaning everything out. Little did I know, but a thorough investigation of every ceiling tile was going to be part of this process. So, I sat down in my basement waiting for a moment in which I could discreetly move my stash. Unfortunately, that moment never came. Instead, I watched my mother go tile by tile in every corner of our basement. Watching and waiting until she inevitably moved the forsaken tile, I was completely paralyzed. When she got to the one, she was greeted by having a ton, probably 100 or so of used condoms drop down on her head, covering her in every type of sexual byproduct you can imagine and forever shattering her innocent impression of her baby boy. Ignorance is bliss. True story. True to life. I feel more bad for your mom than for you. Not my kid, but my little cousin used to hump a talking Dora the Explorer doll, and all we could hear in the other room was Dora the Explorer, and panting until she would fall asleep. You're welcome. I'm not a parent, but it was pretty awkward when my father found toilet paper. I used it for fap time, under my bed. He just told me, "I don't know why there's a toilet paper under your bed, but the faster you remove it the better it will be for you." Man, my face was red. I just smiled and said okay. Then I was trying to avoid my father for 3 days. Throwaway because my husband knows my screen name and he doesn't know that our daughter is sexually active. One day I came home early from work and I heard some weird noises coming from my daughter's room, so I went to go check it out and I saw her on top of her boyfriend. When I walked in, she jumped off of him and ran into her bathroom while her boyfriend laid there in shock. I quickly closed the door and when her boyfriend left I had a talk with her and we never spoke of it again. Wow. Weird. You just perfectly described a situation that occurred between me and one of my exes and her mom. She just walked in the room, pretended to mess with the blinds, and then left though. So dang awkward. My dad walked in me getting a BJ from my girlfriend. He asked what I wanted for dinner. I told him I wanted macaroni. He left. My girlfriend didn't stop pleasuring me. How kind of her. He figured she had already ate. Not a parent, but an older friend told me this story. She's writing at her computer. Her 10-year-old son comes in, smears something on her arm. He says, "Mom, this came out my penis." She says, "Were you pleasuring yourself?" He admits. She then coolly assures him that this occurrence is a natural process. He's maturing sexually, etc. His response, "Think it'd make good face paint?" This is the most hilarious and gross thing I have read all day. Oh wow. That reminds me of the time my dad decided to have a conversation with me and my twin about how sperm is good for women, even if they swallow it or it gets on their skin. This is an absolutely true story, and I still don't know why it happened this way. So I had this girlfriend in high school who loved sex, and not just intercourse. I mean, she loved all kinds of sexual activities. It was a normal day for us to do it about 4 times in a 6-hour period, with lots of foreplay. Keep in mind, this is all happening when we're about 17-18 years old, so we were doing this at her house with her parents 1 floor below. Usually, we'd just throw on the television or a movie or two and go to town on each other. This one particular evening, I remember, I was very relaxed. I wasn't much in the mood for some heavy freaking, but I wasn't opposed to getting some attention in my dilly bits. So I remember just lying there, hands behind my head on this twin-size bed in a spare bedroom, and she starts undoing my zipper. She pulls my dong out and starts one of those gentle, almost cuddly but with her mouth kind of BJs. Guys should know all about this. As I mentioned, I was already pretty relaxed, and this kind of oral sex is pretty damn relaxing in itself. So I'm just hanging out, enjoying myself like I'm getting massaged in the best way possible when I roll my head over to the side and look directly into her mother's eyes. In this overly relaxed state, my instincts didn't kick in to make me panic and zip up. Nope. I just continued looking at my girlfriend's mom while her daughter is sucking my dong, beautifully, I must reiterate. Finally, mom clears her throat to get our attention, and then the panicking ensued. The whole thing probably lasted about 4 seconds, max, but from my perspective, it was forever. I never let my guard down one bit after that, but, man, I still remember that strangely magical moment. TLDR, I shared a moment with my girlfriend's mom during oral sex. My bedroom is right by my parents and the walls are pretty thin, which poses a problem. Pretty much any time I had a girl over we ended up sleeping in one of the downstairs rooms after we fell asleep watching a movie. One time my mum came downstairs the morning after my girlfriend stayed over and said, "Can you please remove that?" I wasn't sure what she meant until I saw that she was pointing at the condom wrapper on the floor. She then looked me dead in the eye and said awkward movement and left the room. I cracked up laughing. My mum is awesome. Not a parent, but here is a fun story. Sitting in a crowded mall food court with younger sister and very religious grandmother I haven't seen in a while. Think 2+ years. Conversation is in a lull and it's getting awkward. Suddenly sister blurts out, "So Keisha, my kitty cat isn't a virgin." Silence for at least 10 seconds before my grandmother says, "Well, do you enjoy it?" I respond yes and she jokes, "Well, they're half the battle gone." She then offered to buy me condoms. TLDR. Sister told religious grandmother I was doing the beast with 2 backs. I can't even describe how cool your grandmother is. My parents found my pee stash when I was 12. I didn't actually figure out what to do with it until I was 14, but it was still awkward and my parents were pretty freaked out by it. Not a parent, but this had to be bad for the mom. My boyfriend's mom came home one day when we thought she was still at work. She opened the door, heard us having loud sex, then walked back outside and rang the doorbell to alert us. He jumped up to answer the door dripping in sweat only to be greeted by his mother. It was extremely awkward. I couldn't make eye contact with her for a while. My brother and his friend walked in on me watching pee in the living room when I was like 10. I'm a girl. My reaction was to run to the door and try to force them back out. Yeah, that was awkward. Parent of 13 years old son. A couple years ago I found the most adorable huge stuffed animal monkey on sale and I believe it was incorporated into my son's Christmas gifts that year. So Mr. Monkey soon lived in his room. A few months later, when I would tidy my son's room up, I started noticing pieces of white fuzz laying on the floor around his bed. It finally dawns on me one day when I see that Mr. Monkey has a large hole in his ear. I still cannot bring myself to visualize my son sodomizing that thing. I pointed this hole out to my son one day and he begs me not to get rid of the monkey. I eventually did sometime later, but who knows how many stuffed animals he's raped. That last sentence made me laugh so hard. I also imagined if Toy Story was real, what that would be like. Till that with 3 sons my household will be going through an inordinate amount of lotion and toilet paper, and here I thought all my money would be spent trying to feed them. Parent here, Mom, Sue. My son starts to get interested in self-pleasure around 12 or so, and the reason I know this is that the body lotion I kept in the bathroom, a giant tub for after showers, is starting to move around and I am suddenly going through it at an alarming rate. I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. Frankly, it wasn't that he was jerking off or even using my cream. It wasn't expensive. It was that he never put it back. And every time he didn't, I was left to know that he has just pulled one off. I knew he did, I just didn't want my face thrust in it every time, so to speak. So I took a tactful approach. Sweetie, when you use my stuff in the bathroom, can you please put it back where you got it? That didn't seem to work, even after numerous mentions. One day I even got sort of frustrated and said, look, I don't give a crap what you are slathering my body lotion on, but it's really pee me off that you cannot seem to put my things back where they belong. Please. This worked on and off, but I was still having to know that my cream was being depleted at an alarming rate. I was starting to wonder how many times a day that kid was abusing himself. Finally I grew a brain. I said, hun, you know how in the morning you have a hard time waking up? I find a morning shower the best way to wake up. Try it. I think you'll agree. Very refreshing. Of course, what I was assuming was that he would be in there with his morning glory and take care of it in the shower and there would be no hand cream issues. It actually did work. But now we go through a lot more cream rinse. Oh well, at least everything is right where I left it. Not sure why, but you had Molly Weasley's voice at some point in the story. Not a parent, so answering outside the question parameters, but trust me, you need to hear this. So there I am sitting in the afterglow of a 40-minute pee search juke session with my junk firmly pinched in my right hand, uncut, used skin as bag. Suddenly I hear a knock at my door, and there isn't a lock on any bedroom doors in my house. My brain shoots itself. Do I pull up my pants and underwear first? Do I close all the tabs I still have open? Do I try to do something about the jizz that could leak everywhere with the slightest movement? 3 knocks. That's all I get. My mom's voice starts to come through the door on the first knock. Honey. Knock number 2. I'm going to bed. Are you in there? Knock number 3 and the door starts to open. All of this takes place in less than 2 or 3 seconds. My brain hasn't gotten past its initial stutter, and I decide to do too many things at once. I reach down with my free hand while standing in an awkward squat and hoist my pants back up around my waist. This isn't my first rodeo, but no one can move fast enough in the time frame I had. I sit back down just as the door squeaks open. My left hand flies to the mouse, and simultaneously I push myself across the plastic floor mat to wheel the office chair in front of my computer screen. Honey, I click furiously, slamming the mouse button harder than I had been beating my meat only a minute before. The windows close. All of them. Brain shoots itself again. And I realize I have just performed rookie mistake numero uno. No one just sits there staring at a blank screen. Hey mom. I realize I am also using my left hand reached all the way across my body to use the mouse on the right side of the keyboard. She is walking closer to the desk, I can hear her footprints muffled by the carpet. Oh god, why is she walking into the room? You okay, honey? Yeah, I'm fine, mom. Just working on a paper. I open a blank Word document just as I feel her hand come to a rest on the high-backed leather chair. I try to hunch down as much as I can over my lap to hide the fact that I am holding my flaccid penis to keep jizz from leaking all over my pants and groin. I know no one would believe that someone decided the instant they entered the room was the moment to open a blank Word document, but my brain is practically stalled. Okay, you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine. My stomach just hurts a bit. I muster a fake groan, trying to imply that I am somewhat sick. It isn't hard to do. I feel like I could literally become ill from the situation. I feel her kiss the top of my head. Good night. Love you. Love you too. My brain has shut down. My penis is trying to retreat inside my body. My mom kissed me on the head right after I had finished jerking off while I was holding my dong and said I love you, which made me say it back. I didn't jerk off for like a week after that. My heart was racing, reading that. Must have been absolutely terrifying. When I was 15, I ordered a vibrating dildo online from drugstore.com, and it arrived in the mail addressed to me while my parents were home. They normally work during the day, and my mom was all, hey, she's Madeline. What did you order that was so big from drugstore.com? And I was like, oh, I can't tell you, and then I did and she laughed. It was a weird day, IDK. She was probably glad you were pleasuring yourself and not risking yourself with sex or something. My dad walked in the room when I was getting head. He smiled, laughed and said, come downstairs when you finish. Not sure if the pun was intended or not. Whoa, a lot of guys' dads are chill about their son getting dome. Pretty sure my dad would just turn and walk away and never ever mention it. My parents had to bear the horrible embarrassment and shock of finding a very large vibrating butt plug in one of my drawers. Not only did they find out their sweet little boy was gay, they got to find out in the most horrible and unsettling manner the size of things he sticks up his butt. Afterwards they just told me, we won't go into your stuff without asking anymore. Okay, deal with it. After I got a girlfriend for the first time, Mom, there is to be no sex in this house. Dad, for your mother, it's fair to assume it was awkward for them as well. As a parent, I want my children to have a good sex life. This is why I created an SM dungeon for my daughter. I'm not a parent. Seriously though, who wants no sex in this house? That's repressed nonsense. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.